Molinar, to our great state Republican Chairman Laura Cox, all of my fellow Americans near and far, thank you for trudging through the mud, standing in the rain. It is great to be back in the Wolverine State. And we are just 12 days away from a great victory all across Michigan and all across America. You got it. You got it. And it really is great to be here with some friends of ours. The son of Midland, Michigan. He's a champion for the 4th Congressional District. And I'm here to tell you, he has fought every single day to advance the agenda that's made Michigan and America stronger and more prosperous. Will you join me in thanking Congressman John Molinar for his great, great leadership in Washington, D.C.? It's also great to be here with a first-generation American who's worked on the front lines of health care, serving his community, and I know he's going to be the next great congressman from the 11th Congressional District. Let's hear it for Eric Asaki. Thanks, Eric. Thank you, John. Thank you all for being here. But we're here for one reason and one reason only, and that is that Michigan and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And the road to victory runs right through Michigan. You know, it really is great to be with all of you, to think about all we've done. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born. A movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in Michigan, you believe we could be strong again. You believe we could be prosperous again. Michigan said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know Michigan's going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. You know, I spoke to the president this morning. He's headed out to Nashville in just a little bit. He is going to take the stage in Tennessee, and he is going to take the fight to Joe Biden, and I can't wait. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a great night. And a couple weeks ago, we had a little debate out in Salt Lake City. Thank you. Some people think we did all right. But I got to tell you, it was a great privilege for me to be able to be there, to talk about all this president has done with the support of all of you good people here in Michigan. I mean, think about it. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that had been hollowed out by devastating budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, stood for life and liberty and the Constitution of the United States. And you know, it all starts with our national defense. After years of reckless budget cuts that hollowed out our military, truth be told, when we took office, there was a percentage of aircraft in the United States Air Force that were kept on the ground to be used as spare parts to keep other aircraft in the air. I mean, the truth is, that all changed when President Donald Trump walked into the Oval Office. President Trump signed the largest investment in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. And I can attest, as your Vice President and as the proud father of a United States Marine pilot, we are finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and support they need to defend this nation. You know, and it's not just been about standing with those who serve in uniform, but we've also stood with all of you who have served in the uniform of the United States. In fact, if you're a veteran of our armed forces, would you just mind raising your hand in the air and giving us a chance to say thank you one more time? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. When Joe Biden was vice president, we all remember, we saw years of scandal at the VA that shocked the conscience of the nation. Remember that? I mean, we literally had veterans that were dying, waiting to get health care at VA hospitals. But under President Donald Trump, we signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in 50 years. We fired more than 3,000 VA employees that weren't giving our veterans the care they deserve, and Veterans Choice is now available for every veteran in America. So support for our troops and their families, support for our veterans. It's just one more reason why we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, and why we need Michigan to send an Army combat veteran to Washington, D.C. We need John James in the United States Senate. So it's about providing for our national defense. But in our first 3 years, after Joe Biden had spent the previous 8 years trying to tax and spend and regulate us back to a growing economy, President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in American history. And now, in the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump, he cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses large and small. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in history. We fought for free and fair trade. We unleashed American energy, and in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created 7 million good-paying jobs, including 112,000 jobs right here in the Wolverine State. Amazing. In our first 3 years, unemployment reached a 50-year low across America. It's the lowest unemployment for 20 years in the state of Michigan. And wages were rising across the board. And what means the most to the president is me is wages were rising most rapidly for hardworking, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. And I don't know if you heard about it, but just this morning it was announced that weekly jobless claims just hit their lowest level since March. Michigan is back, America's coming back, and Motor City is back. You know, it really is great to be in Pontiac. I think this might be my first visit here. And in Waterford. We're not far from Pontiac, right? It's just, I was going to mention, a great legacy and tradition. My first car was a Pontiac. Thought that might do me some good. It was. We used to flip over the air filter in that thing. Did you do that when you were young? Yeah, it had a 454 4-barrel in it, and man, that thing would haul, and it would make a lot of noise when you flip that air filter. I'll tell you, let's just hear it for the great tradition of craftsmanship in Waterford and Pontiac. What a great history. And under President Trump's leadership, I'm proud to report to you the automotive industry is roaring back all across the state of Michigan. Last year, General Motors announced they were adding about 400 jobs. Fiat Chrysler already is building a $1.6 billion plant, and they committed to 6,400 jobs in the Motor City right here in Michigan. And it's been because of those policies, less taxes, less regulation. But it's also been because we have a president who's been fighting for free and fair trade that puts American jobs and American workers first. I mean, when it comes to international trade, it's amazing to think when we took office, half of our international trade deficit was with communist China. $500 billion a year we were losing to China in our trading relationship. And Joe Biden, he's been a cheerleader for communist China all along the way. He actually said the rise of China was a positive development. And he dismissed last year the idea that China was even a competitor. But under President Donald Trump, we made it clear from day one. When it comes to China, the era of economic surrender is over. We imposed tariffs, and we're going to stand strong until China opens their markets to what we make and what we grow once and for all. And closer to home, when it comes to NAFTA, I don't have to tell the people of Michigan what this Hoosier also knows about NAFTA. I mean, in the 25 years since NAFTA was signed, we had 60,000 factories that closed all across America. We did. Many of those jobs moved south of the border, and many moved overseas. Now, Democrats for years used to talk about how bad NAFTA was. But Joe Biden never lifted a finger to renegotiate it or reform it. But under the man who wrote The Art of the Deal, America got a better deal. NAFTA is gone, and the USMCA is here to stay, and it's a win for Michigan and a win for America. I mean, I don't know if you knew it, but under the USMCA, 75% of auto parts and duty-free cars have to be made in North America, and 40% of them have to be made by workers making the average hourly wage that workers make in the United States of America. Now, the people of Michigan deserve to know not only that Joe Biden never lifted a finger to reform NAFTA, but when it came time to replace it with the USMCA, his running mate, Kamala Harris, was one of only 10 senators to vote against the USMCA in the Senate. She said the USMCA didn't go far enough on climate change. Kamala Harris put her radical environmental agenda ahead of Michigan auto workers and Michigan auto jobs. It's one more reason why Michigan needs to say no to Joe and yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And when it comes to energy, so important in a manufacturing state like Michigan and all across this country, Joe Biden and the radical left want to crush American energy under a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal. Remember, in the last presidential debate, President Trump had to remind him that he supported the Green New Deal. Might have to remind him again tonight. I mean, their $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal would raise the cost of electricity for every home and business in Michigan. It's true. I mean, they're talking about requiring 4 million businesses to be essentially retrofit, 2 million homes to be retrofit to live up to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and AOC's Green New Deal. President Trump, he's been a champion of American energy and American energy independence. We ended the war on coal, and today America is a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. Incredible. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America actually lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And the last president, who I saw was out on the campaign trail yesterday, he said those jobs were never coming back. Do you remember? I mean, they referred to our part of the country as the Rust Belt. And there was a lot of rust on the belt when they were in charge. Remember, after President Obama said that those jobs were never coming back, he said, quote, "What magic wand do you have?" Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. 500,000 manufacturing jobs in just 3 years, including 17,000 jobs right here in the state of Michigan. Manufacturing is back. And when it comes to health care, even on health care, you all remember their plans. Remember Obamacare? All the promises that they made? The last administration, Joe Biden's vice president, they said, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. Wasn't true. They said, if you like your health insurance, you can keep it. Wasn't true. They said health insurance premiums would go down. When we took office, health insurance premiums had doubled under Obamacare. And Joe Biden has a plan to literally take the socialized medicine option of Bernie Sanders and put it right in the middle of Obamacare. It would send us on an inevitable path to socialized medicine here in Michigan and all across America. President Donald Trump, we got rid of the individual mandate. We've been fighting to lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. We've lowered the cost of prescription drugs. Medicare Advantage premiums dropped by 54% in this state. We're going to have the best health care system in the world, even better, and America will never be a socialist country. Men and women of Michigan, we got a choice to make. You've got to talk to your neighbors and friends about it when you trudge back through that field to get back to your cars. And God bless you for it. I mean, honestly, when you think about our economy, I really do believe the choice that come November 3rd here in Michigan is between a Trump recovery and a Biden depression. There was this nonpartisan study, Congressman Molinar, I don't know if you saw it, just came out a day ago. It said that under Joe Biden's economic policies, America would lose 5 million jobs. And the average income of a typical American family would drop by $6,500 a year. So you got to ask yourself and your neighbors and your friends in every day between now and Election Day, who do you really think can bring this economy all the way back and then some? A career politician who spent 47 years in Washington raising taxes, stifling our economy under an avalanche of regulation and economic surrender, or a proven job creator who will keep cutting taxes, rolling back red tape, and fighting for American jobs and American workers. For our families, for our jobs, for an American comeback like we have never seen, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. So we've stood for security. So we stood for security. We fought for prosperity. Fought for American energy and American workers. And President Donald Trump has stood strong for the rule of law. So I stand here today. I'm proud to report to you that our president has already appointed more than 230 conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And they are all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, last month, we rightly paused as a nation to honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Trump fulfilled his duty under the Constitution of the United States when he nominated a brilliant, principled, conservative woman who loves the Constitution to the Supreme Court. He nominated Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Isn't she great? Isn't she great? I'll tell you, I'm a little partial. I mean, she is from Indiana. And you know, President Trump and I, we called on Democrats in Washington to give Judge Barrett a respectful confirmation, and we're going to keep calling on him. But we have reason to be concerned. I mean, you all remember during her last confirmation hearing, don't you? The ranking member on the Judiciary Committee, Democrat from California, actually said she was concerned about Judge Barrett's nomination because of her Catholic faith. She said, and I quote, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And Hollywood elites have been criticizing Judge Barrett ever since. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, the Senate is going to continue to discharge their duty to advise and consent. And I'm proud to report, even though the Democrats didn't show up, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted Judge Amy Coney Barrett out of the committee. She's headed to the floor for a vote on Monday. And I'll make you a prediction. Come this Monday, Judge Amy Coney Barrett is going to be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat on the Supreme Court. Now, the people of Michigan deserve to know, after 150 years with 9 justices on the Supreme Court, leading Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court, adding seats to the Supreme Court so they can nominate radical leftist judges to advance their agenda from the judicial branch. Now, Joe Biden did say that he was going to tell the American people what he'd do about court packing after Judge Barrett was confirmed. Now he's saying he's going to tell us after the election. I mean, I saw a clip this morning on the way here. He told 60 Minutes it's a live ball. He's going to tell us after the election, after millions of Americans have cast their votes, whether he's going to pack the court in what would be the biggest power grab in American history. I mean, come on, man. The American people deserve a straight answer, Joe. When you're running for the highest office in the land, the American people deserve to know whether you're going to respect the highest court in the land. I mean, we know what's going on here, don't we? I mean, I tell people I was born in the morning, but not yesterday morning. I mean, look, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris aren't telling us what they're going to do because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to pack the court with liberal activist judges if they win this election. But we're not going to let it happen. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years, and we're going to send John James to a larger Republican majority in the United States Senate. We're going to stand for the rule of law and an independent judiciary. I promise you that. And every day since this president took office, I'm proud to say that we have stood without apology for the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement, and we always will. Oh, we back the blue. You know, the president and I know what you know. Men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country. They're people that literally get up every day and count our lives as more important than their own. And those who serve in law enforcement deserve the respect of every American every day. In fact, kind of comes with the job description. We got a lot of law enforcement people around me. Would you mind just showing them how much you appreciate all the law enforcement people that are here today? Can we just say thank you to them and their families for all they do for us every day as they protect and serve? Thank you all very much. You know, President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Now, all summer long, all Joe Biden ever talked about were peaceful protesters, remember? As the American people literally watched businesses and communities burn to the ground. The truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the policies that have led to violence in America's cities. I mean, when you start to withdraw support from those who protect and serve, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. Now, Joe Biden justifies it all by saying that, in his words, America is systemically racist. And he and Kamala Harris often say that police officers in this country have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, he said, yes, absolutely. And Kamala Harris recently praised the mayor of Los Angeles for cutting $150 million out of the budget of the LAPD. Well, let me make you a promise. With 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, we're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue every single day. I mean, we all know we don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African-American neighbors and friends and minority families and all the families in our cities. We have done both for the last 3.5 years, and we're going to keep doing both for 4 more years. Under this president, we invested with the strong support of people like John Molinar. We supported funding in the COPS program that allowed for the hiring of 4,000 additional police officers. When violence broke out in our cities, we launched Operation Legend. In cities across the country, we worked with state and local law enforcement. We've already arrested more than 3,000 violent offenders in our cities, restoring peace to our streets. And at the same time we've been supporting law enforcement, I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president that saw the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, the highest funding for historically black colleges and universities in history. We created 8,000 opportunity zones in our major cities, passed criminal justice reform, and we have fought to give educational choice to every family in America. This president has proven we can stand with law enforcement, stand with our minority families, and I promise you we're going to keep doing that. And we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state in this nation, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. So we've stood for the rule of law, strong with law enforcement. We've also stood by our most cherished liberties. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, we saw a steady assault on the freedom of religion of the American people. One administrative act after another. The last administration actually hauled a group of Catholic nuns into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the mandates of Obamacare. And President Donald Trump He restored the conscience rights of doctors and nurses and religious charities. And President Trump ended the assault on the little sisters of the poor once and for all. And beyond our values and our faith, I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who has stood without apology for the sanctity of human life. Where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. President Trump reinstated the Mexico City policy that denied federal dollars to any program that promotes abortion around the world, and he signed a bill that gave states the right to defund Planned Parenthood. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history, and we're going to stand for the right to life for 4 more years. So in our first 3 years, think about the progress we made with the strong support of our allies in Congress. We rebuilt our military, revived our economy, stood for law and order, liberties and life. And I want to say from my heart, none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of Michigan's Republican delegation to Congress. That's why right after you re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years, and right after you send John James to the United States Senate, we need to send Congressman John Molinar and Eric Asaki to a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives that retires Nancy Pelosi once and for all. I mean, when you look at all that we accomplished in those first 3 years, there's only one way you can describe it. We made America great again. And then I don't have to tell anyone here or any American. Then the coronavirus struck from China. But before the first documented case of community spread anywhere in this country, President Donald Trump did what no American president had ever done. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now Joe Biden said that was xenophobic. He said it was hysterical. He actually wrote in January that suspending travel from any country would, quote, make things worse. But I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force over the last 8 months, President Trump's actions suspending all travel from China saved untold American lives and bought us invaluable time to stand up the largest national mobilization since World War II. We reinvented testing. We surged billions of medical supplies to our incredible doctors and nurses all across Michigan and all across America. We developed new therapeutics that are literally saving lives as we speak. And before the end of this year, we're going to have tens of millions of doses of a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine for the American people. That's what leadership looks like. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. So we're going to keep providing Michigan everything that you need. And can we just take a moment? You know, I got Eric Asaki here, who spent a career in healthcare. Can we just show our appreciation for the nurses, for the doctors, for the first responders, and everyone that's been there for our families throughout this pandemic? They are heroes all. Thank you, Eric. We're going to keep making sure that our healthcare providers have all the support they need to give anyone impacted by the coronavirus the level of health care that we would want a family member of ours to have. We'll keep all of us doing our part. We'll keep slowing the spread. We'll keep protecting the vulnerable. We'll keep saving lives. And where Joe Biden is talking about shutting down the economy, we're opening up America again. You know, it's amazing to think, in just the last 5 months, after America lost 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, with that strong foundation that we poured together in those first 3 years of a strong economy, and with the unprecedented support that Congressman Molinar and others provided to families. Michigan State's going to be back on the gridiron, and the Wolverines will be back on the field at the Big House come this Saturday. Get ready. You know, men and women, it really is great to be with you today, and I appreciate you all coming out. But I expect you're here because you all know not only the choice in this election has never been clearer, but the stakes have never been higher. I mean, you stood in the rain and you trudged through that muddy field. Not to see your vice president. You did it because you love Michigan and you love America. Thank you. I mean, the truth is, when you look at their agenda of higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, a Green New Deal, defunding the police, packing the courts, it's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden says that democracy's on the ballot. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also believe there are things much more foundational to our country, much more fundamental to who we are as a nation. You know, in this election, I think when it's all said and done, it's not going to be whether America is more conservative or more liberal, whether America is more Republican or more. So for our freedom, for all the ideals that have always made America great, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more. We're going to maintain America's unrivaled military might and ensure peace through American strength. Education to America's schools. As the president said at Mount Rushmore, we're going to teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. You know, men and women, I have to tell you, I didn't know the president that well before he picked up the phone and called me and asked me to join this ticket. But I said yes in a heartbeat. We were going to get the phone call. We'd prayed all the way through it. My wife was standing right next to me. Phone rang. I picked up the phone. I heard that familiar voice. And he said, "Mike, it's going to be great." And you know what? He was right. It has been great every single day, and we're going to make it greater still for 4 more years. But you know, we've served shoulder to shoulder these last 4 years, and some people think we're a little bit different. But actually, we've gotten to be very close friends. And I want to tell you, I've been there when the cameras are off and the Klieg lights are off. I've been there every day at his side. And I promise you, there has never been a day gone by against overwhelming opposition by the Democrats and their allies in the national media. There's never been a day gone by that President Trump hasn't gotten up and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of Michigan. Now it's our turn to fight for him. So I got a couple things I got to ask you to do before I head over to Indiana. I guess going back to the Hoosier State today. Because I'm going to do what I'm first going to ask you to do. First thing I need you to do, Karen and I are going to do tomorrow morning. Vote, Michigan. Vote to re-elect President Donald Trump. I mean, I heard early voting's already started here in Michigan. So maybe after we're done here, only about 1 o'clock, you go down to the Waterford Township Clerk's office. 5200 Civic Center Drive here in Waterford. They're open 8 to 5. Go and vote for President Donald Trump. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member. Bring a coworker.